Can't stop, won't stop. Welcome to this very special uh, anti-USA July the 5th special, and our first episode of my summer series of film movie series, or whatever I called it last week. The series of
Summer,
summer film
summer,
series.
the summer movies.
Yeah, the summer movie series,
Yeah,
I think is what it was.
lots of S's.
Um, so we were going to originally do, we're doing Born on the 4th of July. It's Oliver Stone giving a giant fuck you to the Vietnam War via a very real book by a very real person by Roy Kovic, who was very, very stoked to go to the Vietnam War when it was his time, and then came back and basically
Had
they
a new,
treated him like a dog. And yeah, what were you gonna say?
he came back with a new frame of mind.
Not at first. At first, he came back and was still on the side of the government and the military and the Marines. But slowly, the cold reality set in that the government around the 1960s really stopped caring. The American government specifically really stopped caring about their troops. And the war in Vietnam wasn't,
Respect to fallen soldiers. I don't want to be disrespectful or anything.
but
Does the government actually care about anyone other than the government?
no. Um,
This was kind of a hard watch. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a fun time.
no, it's, I watched it this afternoon actually. It was very emotionally draining.
Yeah.
But good. Very good. It's a very, like, it's going to be one of my higher rated movies. I really appreciate that Oliver Stone leaves a lot in the details,
Mhm.
and he lets scenes really play out, and he doesn't just cut to the next thing. Tom Cruise. So the movie did win an Academy Award for Best Directing in 1990, but I don't get why Tom Cruise didn't win an award for this movie. He was
Who was the other?
like,
You know who the other people were?
let me see. Let me take a look because
If I were to guess, it was too real, or like, you know what I mean, like, and also like it's kind of like, not to say bashing, American government like you're saying, but like I'm sure that kind of helped not get very many votes or whatever.
yeah, I mean Oliver Stone has been very. All his films are pretty divisive for people.
He keeps it
He
real.
he keeps it very real, and that's what people don't like. I think. I think giving him best direction, they were throwing him a bone. I mean, hands down, the movie is very well directed. It's very well shot. I watched it. I watched the. It's not on any streaming service. I
I
assume you own it.
was recently on Netflix, and I was gonna watch it yesterday, and fucking it wasn't there anymore. I was like, oh shit, pirate.
Had to do a little bit of this action, yeah. But I did find a Blu-ray copy, and it didn't have that gross, like when they upscale old movies for Blu-ray. It still looked like an old movie, uh, which kind of helped it maintain the integrity of feeling like a period piece.
Yeah, yeah.
And movies are kind of going back towards that now. When you watch movies that are set in, the 60s, 50s, 40s, you really get they put a bit of that film grain on it, and they really. I wonder it's. I wonder if you could do this movie now, if it would look too polished. Because this movie has some real grit in it. And like we said at the top of the show, like, fuck, man, I was emotionally just drained.
I have questions.
Okay.
I have questions. So, also we're in the midst of cancel Canada Day. Like we just had Canada Day last week, July 1st. It's kind of interesting. Canada Day and Independence Day or whatever are pretty close to each other. I don't know, that's just kind of interesting. But Canada is a pretty well respected country, but we're still far from perfect, and have a lot of skeletons in our closet, and with what's going on with those those the grave sites or whatever, right? And like I feel like part of me feels like, don't we all watch movies? Don't we all get this message? When are we gonna when is this stupid bullshit gonna stop in the world? Like, don't we all share the same feelings when we see this shit? Like, this is fucked up.
No, because that end scene where he goes to the RNC and there's just fucking Republican conservative, just like Nixon was kind of a Trump in that time.
Yeah.
He was crooked, he was an idiot, and he was just fucking everything up. Invading Vietnam was one of the America had this proud history of going in and helping when they needed to, but this particular war has always gone down in the history books as one that they lost and didn't really have any right to go in there, and they went for the wrong reasons, and it kind of, that's where things kind of change in history and people start waking up. Because right around the same time, like they mentioned a little bit in the movie, but the Black Panthers start to rise, and the vets and the teenagers who didn't go to war are starting to rise up against the government and start asking questions. And they represented that well. And you see Roy Kovic go from it's the mid '60s. He's like as a kid, and he's an all-star baseball player, little league player.
Oh,
and
also,
then
about the wrestling. Do you know anything about the Roman Greco wrestling or whatever, like that kind of school?
A little bit.
So because they started, or at least the part when it showed it, they started where one guy already had Tom Cruise kind of from the side. What's up with that?
I think you get advantage.
Oh, okay.
Each round you go back and forth, possibly. I'm not 100% sure on that. I was wondering that too. Yeah. But
he's basically Captain America.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go, okay, parents, I'm gonna fight for my country. And when he comes back, his brother gets into it. His brother is like, I don't believe in the war and this and that. And they share a look at the beginning. His little brother looks at him like, you could see it then. And they do a lot of that in this movie where they'll foreshadow something, and then later in the movie it'll happen directly to him. Like the first thing I noticed was when they're at the very beginning of the movie, they're at that first parade, and the veterans are coming down and the firecrackers are going off, but the firecracker sounds are replaced with gunshot sounds, and they're flinching. That same thing happens to him when he's going through
when he does his parade. Yeah. The actual Ron Kovic was he had a cameo in that first parade. He was one of the soldiers.
Okay.
Rinsing at the firecrackers or whatever. And yeah, I noticed that too when Tom was doing his parade thing and they had the fireworks and he was wincing at it and that sort of thing, kind of just remembering, PTSD or whatever kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it was I knew it was a heavy movie, but it was heavier than I was anticipating for a lazy Sunday after. I always planned on watching it the day that we filmed. If we had it done yesterday, I would have watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
But I like to watch a movie and then talk about it almost immediately after. I do that with my Blossom Buddies podcast as well. And
yeah,
the hour in between finishing the movie and actually starting up the podcast, was very introspective about things. I didn't. I think it's an important movie, especially for Americans to watch.
Yeah.
And as Canadians, it kind of affirms some suspicions we already have about blind American patriotism. And
Yeah.
like, we haven't. I was thinking about this during the movie, and North America hasn't really had a war to like, we gotta go fight. We haven't really had that since like 9/11, and that war was even stupider and more chaotic than I would say Vietnam, because all of it, top to bottom, is just completely insane. At least,
I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist with my, like, I really, that whole thing it's too coincidental. Like all the shit that was going on, like they were doing drills that were exactly like a 9/11 scenario, and
right?
then also happening. Just there's just a lot of fucked up shit just intertwined with 9/11. So I'm still kind of and my apologies for any hearts broken, but I 9/11, I feel was it, what people actually think who did it isn't actually who did it, or whatever, right? Like, or as far as like blaming, fucking what's his face, Osama or whatever.
Right. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but the whole situation was very fishy. There's no denying that Al Qaeda was, torturing and killing people at the same time, and sending death threats to the United States. But the conspiracy theorists are like, well, U.S. was after oil. They had to go into Iraq and Afghanistan, and there's it goes back to like the Gulf War too. Like, there's a lot of stuff to unpack in a movie podcast, which I don't think we're going to get too into. My point is this movie felt a lot like Generation Kill. Did you watch that show?
No.
You would really enjoy it. It's by the guy who did The Wire.
Cool.
And it's like a 6 or 10 part miniseries. And it was clearly very inspired by this movie, like the war scene in the movie, because it does that. It has those very real, like, action moments. Mm-hmm. I think Saving Private Ryan has a similar thing at the beginning, like the opening to that movie where they land. It has that where the camera's going all over the place and you're seeing all these really horrific shots.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got a similar vibe to this movie where it's like these kids are over there and they're fighting for a country that doesn't give a shit about them.
That's the thing, kids, right? Like they're like blindly following like patriotic, like, and they're coming from a good place, but it's not for a good reason, right?
No. It was a little bit like, I looked up how old Tom Cruise was when he made this movie.
Man, Tom Cruise doesn't age, man. He still looks the same, basically.
That's true, but he got to 27 years old and stopped aging, because I think that's how old he is in this movie, and he's playing a 17 or 18-year-old for most of it.
Yeah, I think you have to be 18 to go to war, don't
you? Yeah, but he's fresh out of high school, so he's just 18. And it was kind of interesting that we got the fairy tale ending at the end of the first act. He runs to the place and kisses the girl at the end of a coming of age movie. Yeah. And the next scene is the worst day of his life.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant storytelling. Because I was like, this movie's not so bad. Yeah. It did. Yeah, it went up and down a lot. And every time something a little bit good would happen, like something horrible would happen, or like even at the beginning when he's like in high school and he's talking about like I want to go to the war. People are looking at each other. Like you get these really candid looks that are really well acted by the background people that are like, you get the sense that even though there's this nice music and all the patriotism and it's the 4th of July, you keep getting hit in the face and reminded with little acting choices or little like direction from background characters. I haven't seen anything like this. Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the score also helped add to the.
Yeah, and I don't think there was a real song in the movie until they go to the Nightmare Hospital.
I think just like during the parade, like they had like the little song during the parade or whatever. But yeah.
But like a real like pop song.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah. And Brown Eyed Girl starts playing, and that's usually used in movies as like either a romantic bit or a comedy bit. And the comedy bit was like one of the most disgusting, graphic. It was like that whole hospital bit was played for comedy, but very graphic.
Yeah.
And very gross.
Yeah.
Which was really off-putting too. I literally want to just go and watch every Oliver Stone movie because I think I've only seen The Doors.
Oh man,
that's the only Oliver Stone movie I know.
I watched The Doors the other day. Oliver, and then he had that little cameo in the movie where he was on the newscast or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's a reporter, right?
Yeah. The I'm pretty sure, and I know Quentin does little cameos, and Night Shyamalan has done little cameos in his things. Like, I would, like, if ever I made a movie, I would do, like, a little cameo as well, for sure. Some little offbeat, like, just...
And Night Shyamalan, I think he's done a bit role in every one of his movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was directing, I would put myself. I would be more of a Taika Waititi, though. I'd probably give myself like a pretty big role.
What did you say? What?
Taika Waititi, the guy who made he directed Thor Ragnarok, and he's the guy behind. Sorry.
Did he give himself a cameo in Thor Ragnarok?
He plays Korg.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy that created What We Do in the Shadows, and he's in the movie version of that. Mm-hmm. He's the unofficial third Flight of the Conchord. He directed all of their stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's buddies with them.
That's cool.
They're from New Zealand, mate.
Hey, mate.
So I did pull up the 1990 Academy Awards.
Who's Tom going up against?
Tom Cruise, for Born in the 4th of July, was up against Kenneth Branagh, Morgan Freeman for Driving Miss Daisy, Kenneth Branagh for Henry V, Robin Williams, this is stacked, for Dead Poets Society. This is a fucking huge year. And the winner, and this makes perfect sense, and how could anybody beat this man? Daniel Day-Lewis for My Left Foot.
I never saw it.
I think that's I can't remember if it might be a drug movie. I can't remember what My Left Foot is about, but I know it's super heavy. I'm gonna Google that really quickly so I don't sound like an idiot.
I haven't seen too much. Daniel Day-Lewis gets a lot. Daniel Day-Lewis gets a lot of praise. I've seen Gangs of New York. I've seen There Will Be Blood. That movie's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I think he was The Last of the Mohicans.
Last of the Mohicans. Oh, sorry, it's not a drug movie. It's a real movie. It's a autobiography about a guy with cerebral palsy, and he learns to paint and right with his only controllable limb, which is his left foot.
No way.
Yeah, which is I remember that from when I was a kid. So yeah, that it makes sense that Tom Cruise didn't win, but it's like how Leonardo DiCaprio gets shafted every year because he's up against other crazy good actors.
Yeah.
And now that Leo has finally won, he won the Academy Award for
Evident.
it was The Revenant.
Yeah.
Because the year before that was Wolf of Wall Street, and everybody lost it because he didn't win.
Yeah, he didn't
And then
win.
the next year he won for The Revenant. Yeah.
Leo kills all his parts for sure. I watched Revenant. It definitely not a bad movie, but like, I don't think that's the one that should have got him the award. Like, no offense.
I think it was just the Academy is such a dumb thing that they were like, let's just give it to him.
Well, me personally, I don't give like, and I've said this with like at work and shit, where they're like, you know, because they tell us about, oh, you know, they give us our accolades or whatever, right? Like, you know, oh, this person said this about you, or oh, you achieved this or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. Like that shit, that like me, like not discredit it or anything, but it doesn't mean anything. Like I do concern. I do one and take care of my clients, and that's it. Like I don't need an award for it. I just think that's kind of like, I don't know, superficial or whatever.
Yeah, and especially the longer the Academy Awards go on, and the more people of color and foreign movies are snubbed and stuff, it becomes more of like a rich white people patting themselves on the back for their
as fucking
popularity contest. Yeah.
Whatever kind of thing. Like it really doesn't mean shit to me. If the people that like it, that's all that really matters for me, right? Like as far as like creating art or something, right? Like as long as people like the people that like it, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's tough.
Okay.
Would you rather be severely injured or killed?
I was thinking about that during this movie because if you don't know, if you're watching this trying to find, hey, what happens in Born on the 4th of July? Basically, he goes to war, and on a second tour, he immediately gets shot in the foot, and then you're like, oh shit, well, that's not so bad. And then as he's like scrambling around, he gets shot like through the chest, through his spine, and
Right.
it just shatters irreplaceably shatters two of his spinal columns.
Fellow comrade or whatever.
And
that was done. The one thing that was done for the movie, like for the movie, that didn't actually happen or whatever, was when he went to visit the family of the kid that he and I guess so that part didn't actually happen in real life. Like he addressed the family, I think, in a memoir or something, in a book or something like that.
No, we're talking about two different things right now. I'm talking about the crux of his journey.
Right, but he gets shot.
Right before that, he does friendly fire a guy. He goes to tell his sergeant. The sergeant's like, la 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 la, I don't need that shit right now.
No, that would happen. No, the bad guy did it.
Yeah. He's like, we're not doing that. And he's trying to like this is a different time where like men couldn't like express themselves. So when he gets back and he's losing his mind, he's trying to like try to tell people this shit. He's so programmed to just not express himself that he's like, he's having that conversation with his buddy who's talking about, he's like, well, I saw some shit while we were over there. And he's like, well, we don't talk about it. He's like, why can't we talk about it? And then later, when Willem Dafoe comes into it, Willem Dafoe's just like saying all of it. Like he's so fucked.
Fucking Willem Dafoe also. You know what? Does Willem Dafoe get enough appreciation? Like he kills it in everything he does too.
Yeah.
Boondock Saints is probably one of my favorite characters of his.
Dude, The Lighthouse?
I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
Oh my God, watch The Lighthouse. If you want to buy Robert Pattinson as a legitimate actor, watch
Yeah,
Good Time and watch The Lighthouse, and you'll forget all about Twilight.
I mean, yeah, I know him. Yeah, but like that's what I like. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I hear his name is Twilight. He did good in Tenet. Did you see Tenet?
Yeah, he was good in Tenet.
He did good in Tenet. I have.
He was the best part about Tenet, actually. I didn't like that movie, and he was every time he was on screen, I was going through my Robert Pattinson phase when we watched that movie last year. We watched
Yeah.
it like right on New Year's Eve, I think. And I every time he popped up, I was like, "Yeah, that's my boy."
I'm. I am a little excited to see how his take on Batman.
Me
I haven't
too.
seen. I see. No, I haven't seen Good Times. I'm pretty sure that's on Netty. I haven't seen The Lighthouse yet. I did watch. Fuck, what's it called? He's in another movie, space sort of space thing, Half Life or something like that. I forget what it's called. Anyway, it's all good. Robert Pattinson's a good actor, like Twilight aside, and I'm pretty sure he did. Like I may have. I'm pretty sure I let that play in the background when I watched everything else that I wanted to watch on Netty, like a year or two ago or whatever, 2 years ago, whatever it was. Um, I don't know. It was fucking what it was. Like he
So, so we're jumping around a little bit here. You asked me a question, and then I wanted to explain for the viewer what we were talking about. So since Roy got shot and had to live his life paralyzed from
Ron,
the
right?
pecs down, from the chest down, I would say I would rather live in today's day and age. But with hindsight, I don't know if I would say I would rather live because of how shitty it seemed to be for him.
Yeah.
He spent that time in triage. The guy the priest comes and reads him his last rites before they even like look at him. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna die now." Then they save him. Then he spends all this time. He's told he'll never walk again. He spends all this time in like the worst conditioned military hospital I've ever seen put on film. And then he's like, I want to walk again, so I'm going to try extra hard to like use these canes. And then he wipes out and gets a compound
Fuck.
fracture on his
Hey.
thigh. Yeah,
Yeah.
which was fucking disgusting, but
That
and
was,
very well done. It was so graphic and like I hate that kind of gore, but you have to give credit where credit is due when something from the 80s looks that practical effect looked very realistic.
yeah.
Um, so if I had the if I knew that's what my life would be like, I don't know if I kind of would probably be in the same boat as him and wish that I would have just left
I
the mortal coil the day I got shot. But in this day and age, I would want to live because there's a very good chance you get like a robot bottom half now, or
fair.
at least some sort of exoskeleton like device.
I definitely like empathize with that character, like when he was going through that shit and just drinking and fucking like fucking talk to his mom about this is who you believe in, God. I don't believe in him. He only had to go through 3 days. I have to live with this for the rest of my life. I would definitely would have a hard time trying to like find positive or whatever, right?
He didn't have a choice. He thought he was dead on that field, and his buddy just like tripped over him basically and saw that he was still alive and threw him on a medevac helicopter. So it's like on the one hand, fate intervened. If you believe in that sort of thing. On the other hand, it's like fuck you. You should just like look at this life he leads for most of the movie.
How do
Um,
how do you pin things? We're talking about Born on the 4th of July.
I don't know. We haven't figured that out yet. What if I do a thing here? What if I tap on the screen?
Here, you tap on things. I'm gonna say some facts or whatever. I'm gonna say.
Okay.
So we talked about how Kovic had a little cameo. Al Pacino almost played Ron Kovic. Uh, Charlie Sheen I guess him and what's his face, Oliver Stone. I forget what movie they worked on. They worked on a movie previous to this, and then he thought he had the role, just kind of like assumed or whatever. Sean
Mm-hmm.
and Nicolas Cage were also considered. This was really interesting. Oliver Stone found a nerve agent that would temporarily paralyze crews for a few days. So, get into the role or whatever, but the insurance company wouldn't allow it.
I believe that.
Which makes sense.
But he was able to do it in a very believable way.
Yeah,
I was really blown away by how well he did with that aspect of it.
He lived, or he definitely threw himself in the role. Like he was using a wheelchair for a majority of to prepare and whatever.
Mm-hmm. So apparently, check this out.
What did you do? Google how to pin things?
Yeah. Keep talking.
All right. What else we got? Actually, this is pretty cool, and I'm always curious how this works. But Oliver Stone and Cruise took a pay cut to basically get the movie made, and then they got a percentage of the profits or whatever. Oh, look, you figured it out.
It's pinned now. So now what we'll do...
This one?
Hey, did you see this one? We forgot to do that at the top of the show. We were so depressed.
Not the movie for the jokes.
No, it's not. I was gonna make a joke about how I'm drinking this Bud Light strawberry lemonade because it's some bullshit you buy on 4th of July, but I didn't think it would really be
sponsored by Bud Light lemonade.
Yeah.
So when the movie first starts, you start to hear the beginning of the score, and it kind of sounded like Terminator 2 for a second.
Do you know why?
Probably because the same composer.
It's John Williams.
Nice.
Star Wars.
Ooh.
I don't think... Did he do Terminator?
Whenever you hear a Danny Elfman tune or whatever, you can just pick it out instantly. Ooh, Danny Elfman.
Right. Yes. That's true. And the same thing is for John Williams, because his are always... Yeah, he didn't do the music for Terminator. But as soon as I heard that, it's an 80s movie, so the fucking credits, you have to watch a whole credit segment.
Yeah.
What is this person saying?
He's telling jokes.
Okay. Thanks for watching. We appreciate the comedy.
You hear the one about the corduroy hat? They're making headlines everywhere.
I got it, because...
Corduroy.
Yeah, and for somebody like me with a large forehead, I'd have just... You ever fall asleep on a corduroy pillow?
Check out this forehead. Check out this five.
Hey, did you see this 5-head? Sorry, what were you saying? I got distracted.
Music. We were talking about composers.
Right. I'm just checking to see if Terminator 2 was John Williams. I don't think it was, though. That is a picture of James Cameron. I don't care.
So one thing I don't know. So when movies play credit, you have a scene and then you also have credits at the same when you have credits at the beginning of the movie or whatever, I don't like it.
I like it when it works. If it's if it's a person walking through the desert and that desert pertains to the movie. I think The Cell was like that, where she's exercising the kid and the credits were happening. I was like, that's fine. But in this...
That's always the case, though. And then sometimes, it's just, so if you have empty space, like on the screen, like then it's not, it doesn't like take away as much or whatever. But like, I don't know. So I find it kind of annoying sometimes.
It reminds me of television.
It's okay because the opening of Speed was just inside the elevator shaft. It's just like the fucking inner workings of the elevator shaft. So like words, elevator shaft, sweet.
Speed? I don't think I've ever watched Speed all the way through.
What? Okay. We'll talk about this later, but we need to. We'll talk about the movies of fall or whatever.
I'm pretty sure that was as summer blockbuster as it gets, though.
Yeah, it probably was.
So, okay, we got about 20 minutes still on the old clock-a-rooney. I'm just gonna. You have any other facts?
No, we talked about how, like you said, like the first parade, they were wincing, and then he winced. We talked about that. The other thing I wrote down was when they're at the like high school dance or whatever, and they're all like making out, but like in a weird way, like or what? Like it was just like heavy, like just like.
When I was in junior high and high school,
I never got to. Well, actually,
no, because the teachers made you stand like as far as your whole arms.
Yeah.
And hands on the shoulders only.
Yeah.
Or like upper, like not on the hip and not on the side of the breast.
Yeah.
In this particular prom, everybody was fisting each other on the dance floor, up to the elbow. Sorry, I need to bring some levity because I've been bummed out for the last couple hours.
Oh man, because of the movie. How was? Did you have a long weekend or anything? How you been, man?
I was off. I've been off since Thursday. Took 5 days off as a break. For Canada Day, we went to the park, but we weren't celebrating Canada Day. We were just celebrating a day that we had off.
Yeah.
Then, as soon as the sun went down, we were surrounded by fireworks. So it was like saw some pretty inappropriate fireworks.
What do you mean by inappropriate? Is it like penis shape?
No, like this wasn't the year.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But then on top of that, it was all rich. It was where the rich people live at the waterfront of Toronto. But then on top of that, there was like this park behind where we were sitting, and like there was the park and then apartment buildings kind of on one side of it, and they were shooting fireworks off in this park. And I'm like, right next to an apartment building, this seems really dumb. It seems like a really bad idea to do this. Not just for like fire safety, but like children,
pets,
people with PTSD, pets.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you're like out in the middle of a field, but when the city makes an ordinance to allow people to have straight up fireworks,
and I feel a lot of money spent on it too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Big time.
Find better ways of spending.
Well, I don't think Toronto actually did their own fireworks display. This was just rich people shooting off their own fireworks downtown.
Gotcha.
So
I had the day off as well, and I went to Kearney Lake, and I have this like little water hammock kind of thing, and so I was floating around, and then when I was ready to call it quits, I started like climbing out. I didn't go to the beach part of Kearney Lake though. I just kind of hopped in at the side of the boat, and so when I was climbing out, I ended up slipping on a wet rock and sliced my foot open, and got 7 stitches.
What?
Yeah. You
sliced yourself open bad enough to have to get stitches.
I was gonna walk it off, but everyone was like, it looks a little deep. You should probably go get it checked out. And there was like, have you ever seen any of those like surgery shows or whatever? And you can see like the fat tissue underneath the skin.
That means you
hang out of the thing, right?
Yeah, that means you gotta get a stitch. I cut myself cooking one time, this finger to the bone.
Ooh.
and finished service, and then went and spent. Fuck, man. I'm from Halifax, as you are. How long did you spend waiting?
5 hours.
5 hours? Yeah, it was 7 hours, and those are both of our stories are on the low end.
Yeah. And like this was on Canada Day. It took like half an hour for the guy. Like the worst part of it all, they had to freeze it so that they could stitch it up. And I don't remember. I've had stitches. Well, real stitches, because these were real, right? Like normally, or recently, like now they do these strips or whatever they're called. But so like he had to give me freezing so that it up, and he had to stick the needle in the cut. It was the worst.
I had that when I was a kid. It was summertime, and we were playing slide down the muddy hill on our knees, and I got bashed real bad. I didn't feel it at all. It was must have been a piece of flint or something, but I stand up and my friends are looking at me and I've got this fucking 7-inch gash on my leg. But then when they took me, I'll never forget it. I was young enough that like, if this didn't happen, I probably wouldn't remember any of it, because I only remember the most vivid part was when they were putting the freezing in, and they went in like, they had to go in like sideways into the like, the meat. Anyway. Also now it's like I look at that part of my leg and where my shin is, and like
normal.
Well, no, I still got the scar, but the shin, like I remember it looking very deep, and then I look at that part of my leg and I'm like, how the fuck could it possibly be that deep?
What did or anything, or does it just kind of look like
it's like straight up and down, but right on the shin, not like shin bone.
Okay, right, yeah, right, yeah.
So maybe when it happened, it was like before my body fully, like I was 8 years old.
That could have something to do with it. Like
so it could have moved over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then 4th of July was yesterday, and all I did yesterday was procrastinate playing video games. I kept being like, I'm gonna play something, and then I just kept watching TikToks.
How? I don't understand. TikTok is so annoying.
I send TikToks to you.
You did. You said. I saw the message earlier today. I haven't checked them out yet. But like,
so for anybody that's interested in getting into watching TikToks, you go on there's like following and then For You. You use the For You page and you just scroll until you see something you like, and you double tap on it. And then the algorithm remembers that you liked that. So then you keep scrolling, and then you see something else you like, or gives you a chuckle. Or I like to just sometimes like things that I can tell have been put, like a lot of effort's been put in.
Yeah.
You know? So then it shows me other things that have people have put a lot of effort into. I get a lot of like stand up and a lot of like comedy and a lot of like, like that's, and it didn't take very long. It doesn't take very long for the algorithm to just take over.
My opposition or whatever to that type of algorithm is, well, yeah, okay, cool, but what about how am I supposed to find other things that I don't know I like yet or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, so with Netflix, like luckily I fucking rinse, like everyone, like I'll once in a while I'll see something random like, okay, what the fuck is this? And I think that kind of helps it, have a more broader whatever. But like I was thinking about that, I was like, well, like stop showing me things that it's like, okay, I already have this. I want it again. I want something different.
There's a Discover page.
Yeah.
So if you go on the Discover page and scroll through that, you'll see different, like it'll show you different things that are trending. I don't really like that because it's never going to like the trending stuff is not stuff that I'm going to want to see. It's all like teenagers doing dances and for instance, it's an American app, so that trending page would have all been 4th of July.
I thought it was Chinese.
Well, we see the
Some
American.
shit.
We see the American home. We see the American side of it.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
You can download Chinese TikTok and see it the way that people in China see it, but it's not quite geo locked, but it's kind of like the same idea as like how Netflix is different everywhere, or YouTube. Some stuff
Yeah.
is available here and not
Yeah.
in the States, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have about 5 or 10 minutes left here. I think we should give our sort of final thoughts. If you have any more questions about Twitter, please comment on this video, or sorry, TikTok. If you want to give Kalen some advice about TikTok, I think you think it might be hopeless for him. I'm just joking.
Watch
But
fucking millionaire off of my TikTok.
you should start making them. Maybe we'll become a millionaire off TikTok. So overall, I really, really like. I don't know how I've never seen this movie. I feel like people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew what movie it was. I knew it's the movie where Tom Cruise fucking plays a vet, and it's based on a book, and it's an Oliver Stone thing. I knew all that, but I didn't know. I kind of put it in the same category. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I didn't put a lot of thinking effort into it.
Yeah.
Kind of thought it was one of those early Tom Cruise movies that are just kind of whatever. They have their audience. Like Top Gun has its audience. Cocktail has its audience. I thought it was just another one of those. But this...
Quentin Tarantino's breakdown of Top Gun is, and I think it's in a movie. I forget. I'm pretty sure it's a scene from a movie, and it's fucking hilarious.
What movie?
Let me see if I can find it. Keep what you're saying.
So as I was saying, I just feel like it's an important movie. I'm sure it's more complicated than just why, but I've never been sure why the U.S. went to Vietnam.
I agree with you. It does seem like it is a very important movie. It's an eye-opening movie. It puts certain issues on the table, so to speak. It is a hard watch though. Like it's.
Okay, so North. Yeah, this is what I thought. So North Vietnam was super communist, and they were fighting South Vietnam, which was an ally of the United States, and the U.S. went over there and tried to swing their dicks around. But unfortunately, communist Vietnam wasn't above using human shields and guerrilla warfare and hiding guns in villages and that kind of crazy shit, which is disgusting. It's its own problem, but the U.S. thought they were going to a regular battlefield like they had done in the last couple wars. And also World War II, like I was saying, felt very much like the axis of evil, the Nazis and the fascists against the Allies, which all had a hand in taking down the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
So they were probably like, "This will be fine. We'll take our ridiculous armed forces over there. We'll mow the place down or whatever needs to be done. Goodbye communism." But now we know that communism is all propaganda, and like communism isn't bad if it's not fundamentally bad. It's the way it's used.
Yeah. Anything like I've been trying to say this my whole life. Like, so fire, like just to give a general like metaphor or whatever. Fire can heat your home or it can burn it down. It all depends on how. fire itself is not a bad thing, how it's used. Same with
That's true.
That to like basically anything, right?
Yeah, that's
Also,
true.
the movie in regards to the Quentin Tarantino thing about Top Gun is Sleep With Me, which I don't think I've seen.
No, that doesn't sound like one I've even really heard of. That's awesome. So I'm gonna give this movie, just because it affected me so much, I'm gonna give it a 4.5, and I would give it a 5, but I don't think it is a 5. But that being said, it didn't have any real long drawn out bits. I don't know if it could have been better. Maybe if it was less based on a true story and more of a broader like a broader take. This was more the story of one guy who like peaked in Little League and then just suffered a life of losses.
Yeah.
Like that wrestling scene where he almost wins the big wrestling match but ultimately loses.
Yeah.
Is sort of a metaphor for all of everything that happens to him in his life that going forward. He's always like the all-American boy, the fucking, the goody two-shoes, gonna do right by his family and his country, but then loses the big wrestling match, gets shot and paralyzed, isn't able to walk again, all the shit that happens in Mexico that's really weird and messed up. He finally, it sucks that it didn't happen in real life, that he went and talked to the family.
Yeah.
But that redemption bit was probably the best thing that happened to him since the worst thing that ever happened to him was he friendly fired a guy and then got shot minutes later.
Yeah.
Or the next day or whatever. So that's how, I'm going to give it a 4.5. It's a really solid movie. I think everybody should watch it. It could have explored. It felt like Forrest Gump was a light retelling of this movie.
Yeah, I a similar feeling with Lieutenant Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, and the girl that he sees in the bar that he asks to go to Mexico, her name's Jenny, and she seems like a partier.
Oh,
and
no way.
you could probably do one of those like Reddit like fan theory crossovers to make these two movies be in the same universe.
Yeah.
But it felt like I was watching just like the way darker, focused on if Forrest Gump was Lieutenant Dan story, and he doesn't actually do Forrest Gump is sort of him about being there for all these like major moments in history. This is like he's not there for any major moments in history. He's there except for like the protest bit.
Yeah.
But Forrest Gump never goes to any protests. He's fucking pro-war to the end. He's dumb.
not pro-war. He just kind of, just goes with the flow, sort of, or whatever. Like
yeah.
Sort of, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's definitely an important movie. And I definitely like heavy movies. So I'm like, I need to be in the right mood for them or whatever. But it's not like ooh, I got to go watch this movie thing. But like, no, it's definitely an important movie. Definitely a well-made movie. I think if we were judging it on something else other than being a movie, I would, potentially give it a 5. But just as a movie, like to kind of think about all the movies that I enjoy watching, right? Like one of the main reasons why I watch movies is for enjoyment. And so to kind of have that kind of element in the grading of it all, I'm going to give it I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, nice. I usually like to write down if you find it hard to come up with a rating for the movie at the end after we've talked about it and If you don't like, I don't check Rotten Tomatoes or anything before I come up with my own rating, so I'm not influenced. So if you ever feel like that's happening when we get to this point in the show, I would recommend just writing down what you think about it before, like after you watch the movie, and then adjust later. I don't want, you know what I mean? Because if we went in the opposite order, I already had mine locked in. So I'm concerned that we're going to influence each other.
Fair.
But
yeah, originally I was going to give it a high 3, like 3.8-ish. But it is an important movie. I agree with you there. It is, I think, something that should be seen. It's not entertaining. Like it's not entertainment though, right? Do you know what I mean? Like it's
yeah. Who is this movie for? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's like an important movie you go see in the theaters. It was probably a cultural event when it came out. You know what I mean? It was probably one of those movies that's like, you got to go see it. You're going to have a bad time, but you should see this movie. And that's the Academy Award winners are always like that.
Yeah, it's going to open eyes to different ways of thought, different perspectives.
That said, though, a movie like Parasite is an enjoyable, entertaining watch, even though it is.
Oh, I watched it, and I didn't have subtitles, so I have no idea what they were saying, but I knew what was going on, and
But you still got it, yeah.
Yeah.
That happened to me with District 9. And I thought the gimmick of the movie was that you were supposed to just sort of get what the aliens were saying.
Yeah.
But later on, I would find out that no, the aliens are subtitled through that whole movie. Anyway, those have been a couple. Those are some other movies we should talk about potentially doing. But this has been another. This is a special start of the summer movie series. Summer movie series. For I guess keep it locked to my Instagram until we get our own Instagrams sort of set up. But I think I think keeping it on here is the best thing to do for now. But yeah, for my man Kalen, I'm Jason.
And for this guy up here, Jason, I'm Kellen.
And hey, did you see this one?
Oh, hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
that was good.
All right. Bye everyone. Have a beautiful time.